you'd have a panicky thing, you'd be breathing and you'd be lying down with your head stuck out the window or the sliding doors.
Oh yeah.
A pain in your chest, you thought you were dying of a heart attack.
Yep.
If you watched a film about Armageddon, you'd think it was an Armageddon.
You'd be looking in the mirror before we'd go out and you'd start crying.
Yeah.
Because you like how you looked, and
Then I
you just
wouldn't
wouldn't
wanna
go. Very obsessive with what you're eating and how much you're eating.
Yeah.
And you'd weigh yourself every day.
Multiple times
A day. You would binge and then you would punish yourself by
not eating for days.
I became less close to my dad. I'd fight with him. I hardly ever spoke to my brother. I fell out with all of my friends. I became severely depressed and I was put on antidepressants, which didn't help much. Then started what I later discovered to be panic attacks and generalized anxiety disorder, and my dad was the only person in the whole world that could calm me down. 6 months ago, my dad had a heart attack and he survived. But ever since, I've been paralysed by separation anxiety. Okay, I've been down and stressed and anxious a lot lately. Some of you have noticed that, actually, from just my online stuff in general. I'm fed up of this. I wish I could buy a new face and a new figure. I'd do anything to look different and to like myself. I just feel disgusting today. Right now you feel like a shuttle being launched through space and everything around you is happening so fast. You've reverted into your little shell. You haven't left the house in a year. You've been playing World of Warcraft all night, eating and sleeping all day, and that is not healthy. How are you, my internet family, and welcome back for another Habits I Formed in My 20s video. And this episode is probably the most important episode that I have made of this series so far. I can admit that some of the episodes in this series are quite light and they're meant that way. They're quite, hollow, like skincare and hair care and stuff. And then on the other end, I've done the relationship habits and sex habits and stuff. I want this series to be a bit of a mishmash of everything in life that I have learned, and mental health. Fucking hell, I wouldn't be here making these videos if I didn't have that. It is something that I have struggled with, and I have gone through periods of my life where my mental health has been on the floor, and I'm always trying to learn. I have learned so much, and if you find anything valuable in this video at all, I would really appreciate a like, comment, a share. Those things are what has made this series so far thrive on YouTube. I'm of the belief that prevention is the best medicine. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to pull yourself out of dark places, because it absolutely is, but pulling myself out of a deep depression was horrible and it was bloody hard, and pulling myself out of a spiral of panic attacks and stuff, it was really difficult, and learning not to hate my body and my personality took years of work. So I think coming through all that in my 20s, I just decided, I'm not doing this shit again. I'm not. I refuse to be in a position where I have to do all this again. So I'm going to put the work in, and I'm going to, do the therapy, and I'm going to read until my eyes are sore, and I'm going to prevent myself from going so far backward ever again. And I have wiggle room, and I definitely have my not so great days. I have my days of elation, and most of my days are just somewhere in the middle, contentedness. I don't believe that happiness is a permanent state. I believe that striving for that feeling of being content and having meaning in your life and being fulfilled, that was my goal, not to be just constantly this toxic positive everything is sunshine and rainbows version of myself all the time, because it's so unhealthy. So I'm here to package a lot of what I learned in my 20s for you now, and a couple of things to know. These are mental health habits and routines that worked for me, and I am absolutely not saying that if you do all of these things, everything will improve in your life, but I do believe that nearly all of them are universally applicable, and I know that there is so much research behind all of these things backing them up. This video is the guts of how I keep myself mentally healthy, and I really hope it helps any of you, even one of you. That'd be great. Number one, I accept my fallibility. Every single human makes mistakes, and like, we all embarrass ourselves. We all get things wrong, and we do the wrong thing, and we occasionally hurt people that we really care about. And I think that until you accept that it's normal to not be perfect, you will continue to hold yourself to a standard that doesn't even exist. Like, you'll look at other people's highlights on their social media and think that they walk around 24/7 with a smile on their face and know I fucked up notches on their bedpost. You know what I mean? That comparison to this like image of happiness, or this image of how you're supposed to be, that comparison will make you feel, or well, has made me feel in the past anyway, like low and unsatisfied and anxious about not being good enough. And like, there's no point in striving for better, like striving for contentedness and happy moments. Before I accepted this, I would be kind of resentful of certain people and unforgiving of other people, of their infallibility, like their ability to not be perfect. So I'd push people away, and you know, this can impact your ability to form strong connections with friends and family members. We bond over our shit, our weird human shit, you know. That is kind of a glue of a lot of relationships, is being vulnerable and opening up about your weird habits, or like icky or not so pleasant parts of your brain, and like kind of being like, oh yes, same here, I've also thought that awful thing. Kind of on this, but also a separate point, is that I accept that there are certain things that are in my control, and that there are many things out of my control. And please listen to me on this one. So like, I remember I shared a little kind of film about my separation anxiety at a certain point in my 20s. My dad had a heart attack, and I was like really afraid of going traveling, and just being really afraid of being away from him in case anything bad happened to him, because I wasn't there while it happened the first time. I just developed this real bad worry, like constant worry of something bad happening to him. And I've had loads of different experiences with anxiety, you know, health anxiety and all of the anxieties. Every single one of us thinks we're the first person in the world to have anxiety when we have it. Everyone deals with it. Know that there's nothing wrong with you. I just remember one day having a moment where I was like, I can't control whether or not someone dies, whether or not I'm in a car crash. Like, things happen in life that nobody has control over. They are just complete and utter coincidences. Like, you know, it can be wrong place, wrong time. It can be genes. There are so many things that no amount of worrying or anxiety will improve or fix or change. It's one thing to be aware of this, but to actually accept it, like fully accept it, that's a different thing. That is quite difficult, because this huge weight is lifted off your chest when you do. So if that weight hasn't been lifted, that means that you haven't actually really accepted that yet, and you're still frustrated and want to be able to control everything in your life and everything in the world. But what I do is I take solace in the fact that there are things that I can control. So yes, I can't control if this person does or does not die, but I can control how much time I spend with them, and like the quality of that time. I can give them my full attention when I'm with them, and I flip everything into the positive, or the glass half full. And this is a habit that I formed years ago. I got very into the law of attraction and all of that stuff. I have an ASMR video where I'm reading a chapter from my book. I'll link that in the description box. It's like a soft spoken video. You can just like play it before you go to bed one night. Yeah, I always focus on things I can control now, or I try. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, you know, with this video. It's like all these scares about the coronavirus. Initially, I got really panicked about it, and I had a panic attack about it. I was doing the Googling it 10 times a day thing, and then I just reminded myself, like, I went back to the habit, focus on what I can control. I can wash my hands loads. I can avoid going to certain gatherings and whatnot. That was a biggie for me on anxiety. And then next is that I I don't spread myself too thin anymore, and I practice assertiveness. Assertiveness is like the ability to directly and respectfully ask or like lay out what you want, ask for what you want, and to set boundaries around what you don't want. This is really key to building self-confidence for me, because it's like you're training your brain that you deserve to have your wants met, if that makes sense. I used to be such a doormat, and I would just accept awful behavior from people, and I would always let people cross my boundaries because I was just hoping to like have a relationship with them, or to not upset people, because I have that kind of people pleaser element of my personality. Oh my god, like now I live my life according to my values and not other people's values, and I'm so much better off for it, and my mental health is so much more solid for it. Like when I try to do too many things mainly to just please other people and like not have anyone feel upset with me, I end up not giving enough attention to any of them, and ultimately just stressing myself the fuck out. I've learned when to say no. Like a lot of, like for years I was seeing online all this like, just say yes to things, say yes to new opportunities, and like that is brilliant and that is important, but in terms of like my mental health, I just didn't realize like I have to be able to say no, I can't meet up today, I'm just quite tired, like I need a bit of time to myself, or like no, I'm not going to juggle those two projects, or no, I can't come out this weekend, I just don't want to. I used to feel like I had to make up all these excuses. I'm much more direct with people in my life now. It's such a good thing, and I'm living at a much slower pace than where I used to be at, and because of that I'm so much better able to, I know this is going to sound so corny, but like I can better connect with all of the beauty that the world has to offer. I'm very big on connectedness and oneness, and everything is one and we're all part of everything else, and when you're always like multitasking and you're go, and this hustle culture, oh sweet mother of divine nipples, it's so unhealthy. This weird like obsession with always being on the ladder, just constantly trying to succeed and do more and earn more and get more things and be at every party, and just it's exhausting. It's so bad. I hate it, and I fell into it in my 20s for a while. I'd say about a year and a half I was trying so hard to not waste time, and I say waste with air quotations because I don't think chilling out and observing the wonderful world around us is wasting time whatsoever. Yes, we all need to manage our time if we want to get degrees and get jobs and earn money and all the shite that society is built around, but we all have a limit where if we go past it, we burn out. We burn out so hard, and you've seen everyone talk about burnout. It's a very real thing. And I avoid that by just going slow. Takes me on to the topic of mindfulness. A big challenge in society today. The challenge of training and controlling our attention, because everything is set up to want our attention. So many bullshit things are constantly trying to demand our attention. Our attention is so valuable. Mindfulness is an amazing skill if you want to be able to like focus on the positives in your life more, if you want to worry less, if you want to stop ruminating on all of the awful parts of humanity and the world. Mindfulness is a skill of paying attention, of like completely focusing on whatever it is, one thing, and it is an amazing thing for anxiety and stress. So much research behind it, Jesus. And it can permeate your everyday life, like, mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful eating. It's where you learn to slow down and how to calm yourself down, to focus much more on the here and now. Because when your brain is like stuck in the past and kind of going over these events that have happened, and that's that very commonly linked to depression, and when your mind is constantly projecting and thinking about the worst case scenario and what could go wrong and what could happen tomorrow and what could happen next week and what if this happens and what if this doesn't happen, that's anxiety right there. So if you think about it, being here right now is the key to essentially like dodging these things as much as possible. There are going to be moments where, you know, shit happens. This can also be used to tackle them. Obviously, if you're in a really deep depression, it's important to go to therapy. You can't really just think your way out of certain things, you know, but over time I feel like I did. You know, I took the meds and all that back then when I needed to, but I didn't want to be dependent on medication. I wanted to really treat the cause and not the symptom, and a big cause of my mental health issues was not being present. It's so much more easier said than done. So here are some tips on how I practice mindfulness. Focus exercises. So think of like a texture or an object in the room and note every little detail. Like let your mind be consumed by it. I love doing this with my cats. Body scan. So focus on each part of your body, from your feet to the tip of your scalp, and kind of really tune into how it feels, and like just push everything else out of your mind. This is also almost a form of meditation. It's fantastic. I track my gratitude in a journal, but you can even do this in your notes app if you want. It's just like writing down every day something that you're really grateful for. And I even do this in bed. It's like my version of kind of prayers, I suppose. I'm not a Christian, so I wouldn't be like, oh, thank you, God, for these legs that enable me to walk, and thank you, God, for this roof over my head. It's kind of more like, thank you, universe, or just thank you. I'm just thanking the great, great unknown. Get into nature, you know, look at clouds and grass and waves and dogs and trees blowing and stars at night, and kind of really, really, really concentrate on them. Don't let such amazing things be just the backdrop to your daily worries. And, you know, if you're on a walk and you're kind of constantly thinking about, say, this one fight you had with someone, like, look around you. The world is amazing, and it brings you out of that feeling. It brings you out of that horrible ache in your stomach. Mindful breathing, so you know, the slow breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. These, like doing a few of these at intervals during the day, can really ground you and calm you, and it's like as if you almost feel your blood pressure like changing in your mental state shifting. And there are amazing apps for this and like GIFs online that you can follow along with. I also try to keep my phone and like computer time in check, which is quite hard for me because a lot of my work is online, and I write as well, so often if I'm taking a break from writing, I'll like open up a tab or whatever. But I've deleted certain apps off my phone, like Twitter and Facebook. I have the Messenger app, but like anywhere you go to just procrastinate, or anywhere you go and you come away from it feeling stressed, for me that's Twitter is a biggie. I love Instagram. I've really cultivated it, and when I go on there I see babies and food and body positivity and different places and books, and it's all lovely. So I let myself go on Instagram even if I'm sitting on the loo. No bad feels about Instagram, but yeah, just if something's affecting your mental health, that's one of those things you can control, like what I said earlier. So it's in your power to do something about it. No one else can. No one else can delete Twitter off your phone. Only you can do that. Next one is exercise, and I have an entire episode about exercise, so I'm not going to bang on about it. But, you know, other than the fact that it has so much research behind it, linking it to depression relief, anxiety relief, better sleep, it's good for everything. But the main reason it helps me and is such an important habit for me is that it helps me feel mentally strong as well as physically strong. Like when I go to the gym and like lift weights, or if I go on a little jog or like a long walk, I feel more accomplished. No matter how much I don't want to go, I'm disciplined and I make myself go, and I feel better, and then I realize how mentally strong I actually am. Whereas if I give in and I'm like, I don't want to, it's it's like maybe a subconscious thing, but it's like I feel weaker. Like my strength fortress has been penetrated by myself. So yeah, that it's an important habit for me. You can watch my video on exercise, and then like linked to that as well is food, which I also have an entire episode about. Eating mostly well and having a reliable system for eating well, it's massive. When I don't give myself nutrition, I just feel like everything falls off the deep end, you know? Like my energy, I procrastinate, my goals are fucked, my self-esteem is fucked, and I get brain fog, and sugar has my emotions going like this, you know? Anxiety loves sugar. Sugar triggers feelings of worry and irritability, and if you're already prone to those things, or if you're already experiencing those things, fueling that with what most people call junk food, a lot of the things we eat aren't food, they're just really enjoyable, nice things to have now and again. But having those things every day is not great for your brain. Your brain, the fuel for your brain is the food that you eat. It's so important to me to get good stuff in there. Next to sleeping, and oh my goodness, if I am not sleeping well, I am a shocking bitch. And I think that the best sleeping advice I can really give is to have a really boring routine. And when you lie down in bed, don't start worrying and thinking about awful things. I like to lie down and think about something exciting that I have coming up, or some experience I'd like to have. I just flood my mind with thoughts of nice things, and then that usually translates into cool dreams as well. What else? I don't eat too late. I drink herbal teas late at night. I try and not go on my phone right before bed and have like a bit of one-on-one time with my partner. Lavender on the pillow helps if I'm having a bad night, and if I'm having a lot of trouble actually drifting off to sleep. I love audiobooks, and I love guided meditations and ASMR videos. Finally, and this is so important in the world that we live in, where we have this constant access to every single awful thing that is happening on the planet, I don't overdose on the news, or at least I try not to. And when I find myself doing it, I return to the knowledge that it is bad for me. It is not natural to have access to minute by minute updates of horrible things that we can't do anything about. I like to be informed, but I try not to just live in a bubble of news, because they so rarely report on nice things, you know? Like, it's so often just, this person died, this war is starting, these people hate each other, this person's life is ruined because of a flood that happened. There's a lot of scaremongering, and there's a lot of divisiveness for the sake of clicks, and for the sake of, like, you know, a divisive debate in the comments. And like, I know how newspapers make their money, and well, like online news sites, an example with this coronavirus, like they're constantly posting about it because every click for them is money because of the ads. And I know that from being a YouTuber, like the more clicks I get, the more money I get. It's the same with every single news website. And if they're posting something that has you by the fear, like has you on the hook, and you're shitting yourself about something, or you know, you're really angry about something, like anger and fear are the emotions that the news wants to instill in people. I always take myself back to this little story or fact that I heard, that human beings typically, like a long time ago, would meet on average like 100 people in their entire life, and would only know about the happenings in those people's lives and in the lives of those in their immediate circle. And we go online in the morning first thing and are exposed to 200-300 opinions before breakfast. It's not natural, it's not good. The only person who can control our access to that stuff is us. Unless I choose to not look at it all day every day, I will, because it's easy and it feeds those really deep human desires and emotions and stuff like that. So yeah, really important. Try and tune out a lot of the news. I've been noticing how dark it's been getting outside. You probably can see that it went like a bit blue back there instead of white. So it's getting close to this Irish granny's bedtime. I love going to bed early. I love my bed. Let me know if you liked this. Please send it to someone who you think it might help. Leave a comment down below with which point resonated with you the most. Thumbs up if you liked it again. And I'll see you in another video and another episode of this series very, very soon. Subscribe for more. And happy brain days ahead for all of us. Farewell.